Imagine the vast ocean, the cutting-edge technology, and a country with ambitions as high as the sky. That's China for you, and they've done it again with their latest creation that's sending shockwaves through the world of naval warfare. From its sleek design to its formidable capabilities, this aircraft carrier is a force to be reckoned with. How did China manage to build such a terrifying war machine? Well, let's dive deep into this awe-inspiring feat of engineering. After more than a decade of research and development, China is reportedly building a fleet of floating nuclear reactors in the South China Sea. While these could support commercial development and oil exploration, China has also boasted of the floating reactors' military capabilities, which it claims will give them an edge over any American forces in the area. In 2016, China's National Nuclear Safety Administration claimed that an artificial island with a floating nuclear platform would be equivalent to a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier equipped with combat aircraft and missile systems. Their military superiority will be far greater than that of the United States' long-distance aircraft carrier fleet. Having an endless source of power on a small artificial island provides the Chinese military a significant advantage. The floating reactors present a clear threat to the US and other nations in multiple ways. Not only does a floating reactor increase the potential for prolonged military operations, it also complicates any possible US response. China started its island buildup in 2014 with a fleet of giant dredgers scooping up sand from the seabed to expand existing islands and create new artificial ones. China initially claimed the new land would only be for civilian use, then went back on those promises and turned the land into military bases with radars and missiles. By 2022, some of the islands had aircraft runways, hangars, fuel storage, and other infrastructure for military aircraft operations. China is building two prototypes, the 60-megawatt ACPR-50S and the 125-megawatt ACP-100S. Each reactor sits on its own 400-foot-long barge and can be towed wherever needed. These are pressurized water reactors with a passive cooling system, a modern design which, unlike earlier reactors, will not suffer a catastrophic meltdown if the cooling fails. Unlike earlier designs, as the temperature rises, the output falls in a pressurized water reactor. This prevents runaway overheating. Passive cooling, which works even if power is lost, removes heat from the reactor core when the system goes down and makes serious accidents even less likely. Other nations are looking at this technology for miniature nuclear reactors and may one day put them on floating platforms too. The new Chinese power plants were initially meant to support oil exploration in a disputed area of the South China Sea. Compare this to a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. Conventional carriers require frequent refueling, but a nuclear carrier can remain at sea for years. Similarly, adding nuclear power makes the remote bases independent and allows them to operate for protracted periods. As well as electricity, the floating nuclear reactor produces waste heat, which can drive a desalination plant, producing an endless supply of fresh water. Currently, the island bases are dependent on water shipped to them and use diesel fuel for generators. China has also experimented with renewables, building a 500-kilowatt solar plant on Woody Island in the South China Sea, and giant wave power units that use technology allegedly stolen from the UK, but these can only meet a fraction of an island's total power needs. Nuclear provides enough power to keep a base running with plenty to spare for energy-hungry systems. A floating reactor could also power future weapons such as high-energy lasers or microwaves, which could become important in the next decade. On May 1st, 2024, China's newest aircraft carrier left its berth in Shanghai under its own power for its first-ever sea trial, which lasted 8 days. Known as the Fujian, the carrier, the sole vessel of China's Type 003 class, is a completely new design compared to China's previous carriers and is a symbol of China's ever-expanding naval ambitions. With a displacement of over 80,000 tons, it is also the closest thing to a direct rival to U.S. Navy aircraft carriers, which have long been regarded as the masters of the seas. Fujian represents the latest evolution in China's carrier program, which, despite its scale and the impressive speed at which it is developed, has been regarded as lacking overall strength and capability compared to those of the U.S. Navy. Fujian is the third aircraft carrier China has built for the People's Liberation Army Navy, or PLAN. The first two carriers, the Type 1 class Liaoning and Type 2 class Shandong, were commissioned in 2012 and 2017 respectively. Liaoning and Shandong are both based on the Soviet-designed Kuznetsov class. Liaoning itself was purchased as an incomplete hulk from Ukraine in 1998 for just $20 million under the pretense that it would be turned into a casino. It was instead towed to China and refitted for war. Both carriers were slightly modified from their original Soviet design to incorporate modern tech and enable more space for aircraft. Liaoning and Shandong's flight decks both measure about 1,000 feet in length, and while Liaoning displaces around 60,000 tons, Shandong displaces around 66,000 tons. Despite attempts at modernization, Liaoning's and Shandong's capabilities are limited by their employment of the Short Takeoff Barrier-Assisted Recovery, or STOBAR system, which utilizes a ski jump ramp at the bow to get jets airborne under their own power. This imposes limits on the weight of the jets at takeoff, as they need to be light enough to lift off the deck under their own engines. Consequently, force multipliers like airborne early warning aircraft and dedicated aerial refueling aircraft cannot operate from Liaoning and Shandong. A J-15 fighter takes off from aircraft carrier Shandong during the Combat Readiness Patrol and military exercises around Taiwan. The air wings of the Liaoning and Shandong, which consist of 24 to 32 jets and 12 to 17 helicopters, respectively, are less than optimal for this setup, as the backbone of the Winseveregs, the J-15 fighter, is the heaviest carrier-borne aircraft in service. This means it has to carry a limited armament and fuel load, reducing its capabilities and combat range. Because of these limitations, some observers have looked at Liaoning and Shandong less as battle-ready warships and more as training platforms from which China can gain experience with carrier production and operations as it prepares to field a more advanced and capable design. Fujian appears to be that more advanced and capable design. Measuring 1,036 feet long and displacing over 80,000 tons, Fujian is larger than its predecessors. The most obvious advantage of its larger size is that it enables a larger air wing, which is believed to number approximately 60 aircraft. The most important upgrade on Fujian, though, is its employment of a catabar system, which uses a catapult to launch an aircraft off a carrier's deck. While the catabar system isn't new, Fujian is one of only two carriers in the world equipped with electromagnetic catapults, or EMALs, the other being the new USS Gerald R. Ford. An EMAL's catapult enables Fujian to launch heavier aircraft than steam catapults, which means a more diverse air wing. China is currently developing a host of new carrier aircraft, including a catapult-launched variant of the J-15 known as the J-15S, a twin-seat electronic warfare variant known as the J-15D, and a carrier-based airborne early warning and control aircraft known as the KJ-600, which is almost identical in appearance to the U.S. Navy's E-2 Hawkeye. With 3 catapults on its deck, Fujian will have a higher sortie generation rate than its predecessors, as it will be able to catapult multiple aircraft into the sky within seconds of each launch. By comparison, Liaoning and Shandong can only launch 1 aircraft at a time off their ski jump bows. Fujian's sea trial was meant to test the reliability and stability of its propulsion and electrical systems, according to the state-run Xinhua news agency. The carrier has already passed its mooring trials and completed its outfitting, and reporting has suggested that the carrier will be commissioned in late 2025 or 26. China plans to build a fleet of 6 carriers by the year 2035, a 4th carrier, the first of the presumably named Type 4 class. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more fascinating contents. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. See ya! Bye!